May 29th, 2012. We'll begin with public comment. If you have public comment, please step forward. Tell us your name, where you're from.
Good afternoon. My name is Phil Britton. I'm with Greater Mesquite Arts Foundation. Excuse me. At the beginning of the budget process, I stated that arts throughout history has needed support from the community and from its government. And I would like to say that again. Arts needs a support from its community and its city government. Hopefully you will see yourself clear to help support our arts community here in Mesquite so it can grow and flourish. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Linda Foss, and I represent Virgin Valley Artists Association, and I'm here this evening to invite all of you again to our next showing that starts on June 5th. During the month of June, we're doing another one of our summer theme competitions, and I think you're all aware of how much fun these are each year. We do a series of 4 competitions over the summer. The artists in our organization, and we do have 200 of our artists in our organization, paint or draw or sculpt or do whatever their art is to a theme. Our theme for the month of June is tea time. I don't know what that means to you, but our artists have probably 50 different interpretations of what it will mean to them. So the show starts on June 5th. We have a public reception on June 19th, and of course you'll all be getting your written invitation for that reception. I hope I'll see you there, because I think you know how important the Mesquite Fine Arts Gallery is to this community, and I want all of you to enjoy it as much as we enjoy being there. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Seeing none, we'll close agenda item number 1 and move to agenda item number 2, consideration of amendments to and adoption of the final FY 2012-2013 budget and approval of the capital improvements plan. We are slated for a public hearing. I don't see any other comments. Mr. Barton, Ms. Cardenas, no comments. If not, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Mr. Witham.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to, if I'm not on the line, propose an amendment to the current budget. Is that too soon?
We can go ahead and do that after the public hearing.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
It might be the time now, though, for me to make a disclosure that depending on what happens with the arts tonight, I do have family members that are part of the Virgin Valley Theater Group. They aren't officially on the board or anything like that, but I'm just disclosing that I do have family members that participate with Virgin Valley Theater Group in those functions. So, all right, so that being said, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. I do have I'm sorry, Debbie. Ms. Cardenas.
Yes, I forgot to mention, and Dodie did pass out a change on page 97 for the forensic funds budget. It's just a minor change, doesn't affect the general fund overall. We just didn't print the correct page, so I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, thank you. All right, that being said, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Seeing no public comment, we'll close the public hearing and go to agenda item B, which is adoption of the final 2012 budget and capital improvement plans. Council members. Councilman Withelder.
Thank you once again, Mayor. Before I make my proposal or the amendment, I must disclose that I am a board member of the Virgin Valley Arts Association. I have been for about 6 years. My wife is an artist in town. I receive absolutely no remuneration or any compensation from the board. I do it strictly as a voluntary member, happy to do so. And I just want to get that out in the open so that there can be no conjecture.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. We also, I failed to mention that we do have Councilman Littman on the phone. I'm sure you can hear us. I hope he can. He's still with us, right? Okay. Mr. Tim?
Thank you, Your Honor. If there are any others that need to make any disclosures now, maybe appropriate time, and would recommend that you go through the disclosure analysis and also indicate whether this would or would not be a clear case of a disqualifying conflict of interest. If it is not a clear case of a disqualifying conflict of interest, council member could continue to vote on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anything. Go ahead, Councilman Haven.
I do Senate committees for the Boy Scouts of America. I do not receive any compensation, strictly volunteer. So I'm going to disclose that.
Thank you. Any further council members? Disclosures, okay. That being said, any discussion on the budget? Councilman Withelder?
No discussion, Your Honor. I was just going to make that motion when time comes. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll look to the other councilmen to see if they have any other discussion. Okay. I don't see any discussion, but Councilman Ramson.
Well, I don't know what the appropriate steps are here, but the elephant in the room is the donation process, I think, and I think it's time at least we discuss it and open it up and resolve something or not, but at least discuss it. And I'll go first. To me, there's two issues here. One is the capital needs that was spoken of at one point at the tune of, I can't remember what it was, $80,000 or something estimated. And the process of the community grants, not only the process, but the amounts, is in a sense, aside from the in-kind, it was zero this year. I think, and this is really hard for me, just that we have a nearly balanced budget for the first time in some time, and it really goes against my nature to start saying, okay, the piggy bank is open again because we have a balanced budget or near balanced budget. But I do think there is some benefit to the community in the arts. I do think that if we are going to provide a facility, which we do, and we charge rent for, that it should be maintained. So I would like to open those for comment or conversation. I think that my opinion is that I believe that we can at least set aside some funds in the budget this year for the community grant system, not just the arts. I would like to say, as I said before, that I'd like to see the guidelines, the rules changed to be functional. I would like to take this decision personally out of the city council. I think this becomes a tugging on heartstrings political deal. I think it would be better served for the council to make a determination in the budget process that there will be X available for community grants, and let a committee with redesigned guidelines direct those funds and live with what they do. Then I think we need to talk about the availability and likelihood of being able to fund the some or all of the capital.
Thank you, Councilman Rapson. I'm going to concur with Councilman Rapson. I think we do. We have a balanced budget, and it is hard to make those decisions, and you have to be careful moving forward with any additional funding. But I do agree that we need to fund something in the arts. And in speaking with Mr. Nelson and Phil, we do own the theater. It's the city's property. And I'm just going to throw out there that if there is any capital improvement to the city, I think that funding would need to be moved into Parks and Leisure, or Recreation and Leisure, I guess that's the correct department, so that they would have control over those funds and could administer those in a proper way, so that we could have some actual knowledge as to how they're being spent and when they're being spent. That alone is important for us as taxpayers. We need to know where that money goes and what it is being spent on. As for granting to the arts, my opinion, again, is with Councilman Rapson, and I believe the committee itself made a similar statement, that the grant process that we have, the rules that we have been outgrown. They are not applicable to the majority of functions that people are coming forward with, asking for grant funding for. So I guess my opinion would be, as if this council feels as though they would like to portion off some money for a grant, that again, it would be an X amount of money, whatever you guys decide, and then that fund would be administered by the Community Grants Commission. Is that the proper name? I'm not sure. Is that Aaron, what's the name of that committee? It's the Community Grant Committee, Community Grants Committee. So my opinion would be to put the funds, let them handle it, let them set up some type of criteria for those funds, give them X amount of days to do that, I don't know, 60 to 90 days to rewrite how they go with grants, do a pre-grant meeting, and then let that committee decide how those funds would be given to the community. That's my portion. Councilman Wickelder?
Thank you, Your Honor. That you kind of echoed my sentiments with Mr. Rapson and yourself regarding the arts community. As in, I made my disclosure, I've been pretty active in the arts community as well. I am as well, and my wife as well. And the amendment that I'm going to propose is pretty much based upon those things when it's time. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hafen?
I too concur. I would like to tell the arts and the others that put in those applications that I do believe that we do need to take care of the people that are here year-round, the people that volunteer, whether it be the arts, the Boy Scouts, Salvation Army, Mosquitoes, those people that have asked for a little assistance. I think that we do need to strongly consider that. If we make that motion that we're going to revamp the application process, I think that they need to be assured that it will be a timely revision, that they're not going to wait 6 months, that they will know what the process is going to be within the next 30 or 45 days at the outset, and that be assured that we do support what they do for the community locally here, because there is a tremendous amount of volunteerism, and it generates a lot of activity in the community, and I appreciate all those things that you all do. Thank you.
Councilman Rapson?
Yeah, just to make it clear that and Councilman Haven spoke to this to some degree. I'm not suggesting this grant all goes to the arts. I think it should be reopened to those who have traditionally and historically this year applied, whether it's the Boy Scouts or Salvation Army. I think they're all deserving. They all work hard. They all have their own set of volunteers, and they all really work hard towards a different sector of this community. And so I don't want to exclude one and the other. So I think I agree there has to be a timeline to revamp the rules. Then it needs to be a revisit of the applications and allocation of funds within a time certain of 90 days, say, and notification and allocation of the funds. So that's just to clarify my first statement.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Gus Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I kind of, in some respects, have the same feelings. I think that I would like to see us do something with the arts. And I think one of the problems is that when you talk about a lump sum, which is probably the only thing we really could do is talk about a lump sum. There are quite a number of people that have talked about grants and sizable amounts of those grants. So it needs to be understood that whatever amount that we do come up with will be distributed fairly, but they won't, obviously they probably will not reach people's expectations on what they were hoping they might be able to get. I'm not so sure that there's anything really wrong with the grant process as it has been. But if the rest of the council feels like it doesn't work, I don't know why it doesn't work. There's been a very clear-cut policy that's worked in the past. Unfortunately, we saw, as we did last year, a number of people that didn't submit their paperwork, and then later on they were upset because they weren't involved in any of the discussions on the grant. So I think it's important that if we do go forward with any type of other process, whatever it is, then it needs to be understood that there. And I don't think, and incidentally, I don't think there's anything wrong with the council looking at what the grants have been requested before. I'm not sure that they need to be necessarily totally taken out of the hands of the council, because the council still has responsibility for the overall budget. So one way or another, we're going to be looking at it. So I don't know why that's a problem that the council's looking at before. We had a chance to have some discussions early on in the first and second budget meetings. I think at that point in time it was pretty well considered by all of the councilmen that the budget would be in such a situation that there wouldn't be any money really available for the grants. So it wasn't, I don't think there's one person up there that wants to not give grants to the council, or to the arts and the Scouts and the Salvation Army. It's just a matter of how many more employees are we going to lose that we can't afford to lose. We're down, we don't have any employees. So I think we also have to be realistic about what we're doing and whether it's fair to the people we have working for us at the city also. I know there was a lot of concerns about the budget, how much time it took to get the budget prepared and the problems with it. But I don't think there's a clear understanding of just how difficult it has been with all the new people, as good as they are, coming in at the last minute, and then the old people that have been here for a long time and worked on it. They're running 3 departments instead of 1. We have several of those. So I'd be in favor of doing something, yes. I don't think that we're talking about astronomical numbers, I hope, because I don't think we're in a position to do that.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Barton.
Mr. Mayor, with the council's permission, staff would like to take a crack at looking at the process, seeing if we can streamline, make it easier, make it more understandable, make it more accessible to Mesquite residents, and then come back to you with a proposal at a future meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Mr. Rapson.
We all are on the same page here, I think, relatively speaking, but the process, I disagree in one respect. The notification has to be clear, the deadlines need to be explained, and we need to help. When we talk about helping businesses, if we know the Boy Scouts have applied every year and Salvation Army's applied every year, and we haven't got their application a week before the deadline, a phone call might be nice. Hey guys, time's up. And self-sustaining provision in this thing. All right, we just had everybody up here say they need help. They're gonna need help next year, and they're gonna need help 10 years from now. So the self-sustaining provision needs to go. I mean, if that's the reality, it needs to go. So I do think that the process needs to be reviewed, and I do think there are provisions that don't work. And maybe it's only one, but it's still, it's not working. So, anyway, I think that needs to be fixed. I agree with Carl that the dollar amounts are not gonna be astronomical. It's not gonna, I hope your expectations aren't. I mean, especially if we say, okay, we're gonna fix something for $80,000 over a 1 or 2 year period. I mean, that's a big chunk of money too. So, anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Does Mr. Littman have any comments?
I think, are you addressing me? It's very, very hard to hear. The comment would be that, yes, we do need to follow some guidelines. I think we need to change these guidelines a little bit, streamline them, as I believe Andy said. Again, I'm picking up parts of the conversation on this only. But I think we need to get some new guidelines and then adhere to them.
He's done. Okay. Thank you, Councilman Littman. Any further comments from council? Any other discussion? Any other items? Ms. Cardenas?
My question would be whether is the council asking us to set aside a specific amount of money in this budget, or do you just want us to look at preparing a policy and then amend the budget later on?
I think we're going to discuss that now.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Rapson?
This might be for Billy or Kurt or somebody, I don't know, that has, or Debbie, is there a fund, that capital improvement fund that we have that has a balance that is not committed at this point for these improvements to the art facility?
I'm not aware of one. The grant for the community support comes out of the general fund. So whenever we've allocated any monies, it comes out of the general fund, not out of any capital project fund or any other special revenue fund.
But I think this is different, and this part of it is different. The renovations to the facility is a city facility, so that would, I think, logically fall into a capital improvement.
Mr. Tanner?
Council, there is a fund set up for capital improvements for some of our facilities and maintenance. I'm not familiar with any capital project or improvements that need to be done at the campus. I haven't seen that list. Right now, we have budgeted to redo the roofing on some of those facilities. We've had a lot of water leakage, and rather than go out and spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars, we've elected to try to repair it in-house or subcontract out and work through those problems. I don't know if there's other issues over there. They haven't been brought to my attention, or if they have been, we're working on them in a manner that will save us money. So I need to know what we're talking about where I can comment on.
Are all the funds committed,
Those,
Mr. Tanner?
all of those funds are not committed at this time, but that is also a fund that we haven't deposited money in through the economic crisis we've been in. We haven't been depositing any money into that fund for the last 3 years, I believe. And so we're trying to be very, very good stewards of that money, because we know there are large sums of capital project or capital improvements that are going to be needing done in the future. And one of them would even be here at City Hall. We've evaluated the outside portion of City Hall, and we're either going to have to paint or restucco that in the next couple of years to keep the total cost down for the future. So, we're looking at $150,000 for that in a fund that simply only has $150,000 to $200,000 in it at the end of this year. So there's very limited funds there for future capital improvements, and we're trying the best we can to save that money.
Okay, if I may follow up then, what I'm understanding is there's no capital improvement or replacement funds that would be available. And frankly, this is probably not capital improvements, it's probably FF&E, I think more accurately defined. So what I'm getting is if we do anything, it will come out of the general fund, I think. Okay.
Councilman Hayden.
So if this motion is
Haven't got a
potentially,
motion yet.
I know, is potentially going to be proposed in some kind of amount, I mean, we're probably looking at a general fund type account, is that a fair statement?
Correct. General fund. Any further questions? If not, we'll seek a motion for the budget. Councilman Withhelder.
Thank you, Your Honor. After carefully reviewing all of the aforementioned material, and I had a conversation with Ms. Cardenas today, and she kind of assured me that there were funds available for what I'm about to propose. And the dollar amount that I'm going to propose is $125,000 with $80,000, not to exceed $80,000 in improvements in the theater. Now that is to be administered by the Parks and Rec Department so that we, the city, will have complete control of it due to the fact that it's our building and we want to maintain that. The other remaining $40,000 to be distributed equally between the Mosquitoes, Miss Senior Mesquite, GMAF, BVAA, Virgin Valley Artists Association, the theater group, and I guess like Mesquite Arts Council, or the other 6. So it's not a great amount of money. It's about $6,000 or $7,000 per organization, but due to the fact that we all have to tighten our belts a little bit, that's my amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion, and I'm seeing all kinds of lights coming on.
I have a comment.
Before we go for comments and questions, I would need to seek a second on that motion, and then we can discuss it. Well, we have a motion, we need to go for a second. As soon as we have the second, we can go. If it dies for lack of a second, then we die, and we'll go on. We don't have a second as far as I can say, so that motion dies for lack of a second. Now we'll have some more discussion. And I believe, Mr. Barton, you have a comment? Okay. Ms. Cardenas, you have a comment?
Again, I just want to clarify that the funds that are available are the fund reserves. So that's where it'll be coming from. We don't have any operating revenues, but it would come out of the general fund reserve.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Gustavus, I think your light was on first.
I'm really concerned about the amount and where the $80,000 for renovation at the theater. I think we spent a large sum of money not too long back on the theater, a very large sum of money, and basically put a whole new interior in it with all new seats and new air conditioning and new ceiling and new everything. We don't have money right now to do capital projects. The city needs done right now. So I think any kind of a $80,000 capital improvement on the theater can wait. Now, if it can wait just like we have to wait on everything else, I don't think that one is what I would call an urgent need. I think if we're going to be talking about, we should be talking about the funds they need to continue to operate, because that's what they're telling us, that they're short in funds, and that's what they need, is they need some operating capital. So I personally would not be in favor of $80,000 capital improvement on the theater.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Rapson.
That's kind of a heart stopper when you add it all up and you throw out a big number like that. I think that $45,000 that's bigger than we've given anybody in a long time. I think, and even in the good years, that's probably maxing out. I mean, and my first question was clarifying the motion, which is now not relevant, but this is to all of the people that this is again, in the motion, any motion, I would like to see directing staff to come up with a procedure, a new policy and procedure for the community grant process. I would like to limit the amount this year to something, the piggy bank's not open yet, guys. I hate to use that phrase, it's just not there yet. We're burning reserves every time we do this. So yeah, it's important, but if it's 20,000, I'm more comfortable with that, something in that area. And then as far as the capital or the furniture, FF&E improvements over there, let's phase some stuff in. Let's get a list of priorities and a list of things and some bids and some costs. And if we can do this over a 3-year period, that helps. And so, I mean, I would like to see staff come up with what it is that the theater needs, get bids on what they are going to cost, what some alternatives are, get a phased process where we can say, okay, this is the most critical need we have. Let's get this done this year for a third of that 80,000, if that's what the number is. Maybe it's 60, maybe it's 90, I don't know. But we don't know. We just have somebody that spoke in public comment. I'm sure it's fairly close, but I don't know. I don't know what kind of equipment it is going in. So I would like to see a much better analysis of what it is the needs are, find out what the critical needs are, what the not so critical needs are, phase in something where we don't blow 125,000 today, and limit the grant to something a little more reasonable given the economic situation we're in.
Councilman Hatham.
I appreciate the comments from the other council members. In the past, I think we've given 10,000 to GMAF and the in-kind donations. We've asked staff to go bare bones. They've done a great job with this process. I want to thank them personally for the time and the effort, and I look at this budget, and they've done a great job to keep it as balanced as we can get it. And so they deserve a tremendous amount of thanks, especially the finance department. I mean, Debbie, we appreciate you. I guess I can concur with Councilman Rapson and Councilman Gustavson. I would like to see the staff come back, and I want everybody in the audience to understand we're not talking about a lot of time. I don't have a problem with the 10,000 that has been issued in the past, plus the in-kind for some of these groups that do a lot of great things for the city of Mesquite, for us as residents. And so I would like to, I guess my direction would be, whoever's going to make a motion, is we let staff come back with recommendations of where that's going to come from, what those amounts might be. If there's phasing, we can discuss that with the improvements that need to be with the sound system, the things that need to be done at the theater. We can get a better understanding of what the actual costs are, and discuss that in the public forum.
Councilman Rapson.
I'll give a motion a shot.
Well, let me ask if there's any more discussion first. Anything from Councilman Lippman?
No, waiting for the motion.
Okay.
I'll need to have it repeated.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Gustavson.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment. I concur with Councilman Hafen in terms of having the staff look at a number of things that need to be done and so on. But I think at this point in time, knowing what our budget is and the constraints are, I think that we can go ahead and do that. But I would still like to see in this motion an amount certain put in that we're going to be working with, instead of let's just start to put a list together, because I can put my Christmas list together, and I'd be driving new Jaguars, and I'd have new ATVs and all kinds of things, but we can't do that, unfortunately. So I would like to see amounts certain in there.
Ms. Cardenas, do we know, maybe you're not the right person to ask this question, maybe it's Mr. Dangerfield or Mr. Baker, Do we know what in-kind, the amount of in-kind that was granted last year? Ballpark it for us at this point?
Mayor and Council, I know that some of the in-kind was with the senior games. There was field donations. There was the Boy Scouts of America had their rental space over there. That was about $3,600 worth of in-kind donation. Let's see. I think that was about it.
Okay.
But there's, you know, and we talked about this last council meeting, the value of the discounted lease space at the Mesquite campus, 34 cents a square foot as opposed to $75 a square foot commercially. We'd proposed too the common area maintenance fee to have a little money in there to perhaps renovate the restrooms there. That was brought up at the last council meeting. Those restrooms have probably been unrenovated for 30 years and makes it difficult to clean. And I know that issue came up last council meeting. I'll just bring it forward right now. But you know, there's some things that need to be done over there. But as far as to answer your question about the in-kind, the use of the fields by the senior games, and it says Virgin Valley Youth, but that's the Boy Scouts of America. And
So I'm seeing from the grant applications, I see an amount that was requested at $13,425 on the in-kind requests. Do we know what we paid last year in in-kind?
Well, I wasn't on the committee this year, so I don't know about what was asked this year, but some of the in-kind from last year was the use of the billboard, the freeway billboard. That was pretty significant when you look at the cost of having a billboard throughout the year.
So would you say it's over 15,000 that we did last year?
It looks like 16,900 was the value of the
Okay.
billboard and the use of the fields and some of the other things that were given to the arts GMAF.
So 16,000, thereabout. All right, thank you, that was my question, appreciate it. Mr. Rapson?
Aye.
Hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Toon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as a point of information, depending on how the council wants to handle this motion, there could be a motion to amend the budget to reflect what the discussion has been, and particularly the motion, and then come back and look at any other changes. Or if it was council's desire, you could make a motion to adopt the proposed budget and capital improvement plan with the proposed changes. So just to clarify, there's a couple of different ways you could do this. If you want to handle it all in one motion, that's a possibility.
Thank you, Mr. Toon. All right, any further discussion? If not, we'll seek a motion of sorts. Go ahead, Mr. Rapson.
Okay, I'll give this a shot. So I move to direct staff to do two things. One is determine the needs for the FF&E improvements at the community theater. Rank them in relative priority and determine cost. The second thing is staff to revisit the guidelines with respect to community granting and bring that to council with suggested revisions. And the third thing is I would like to amend the budget for one thing only, and that is a community grant of, and I do this as a compromise between Councilman Hayden's and mine, is $15,000, not specifically to any one group at this point, but to re-invite all of those who, including Salvation Army, the Boy Scouts, the Arts Foundations, all of those to be included in this determination under the new guidelines and allocate accordingly.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Just quickly on some discussion here. Does Mr. Littman have the motion?
We need to repeat it. He's having some difficulty hearing us, so we'll repeat it to him and then.
Okay, go ahead and repeat it.
Right.
Go ahead and pick up the phone and then just let him know.
As I understand it, Mr. Mayor, we don't need to.
Please, well, you can just go ahead.
Okay, you can correct me if I've got something wrong. The first part of the motion was for staff to work and determine the needs for the FF&E theater. Number 2, revisit the guidelines and bring back to council proposed guidelines for council to consider. And 3, amend the budget for $15,000 to be allocated to potential groups. Councilmember
Under the new-
Robinson, was there anything else?
Under the new guidelines.
Under the new guidelines.
Does he have that? Okay, good.
He said that he understands it fully and
Okay.
he's prepared to vote on that when it's ready.
Okay, and I just have one question for discussion. The community grant at $15,000, does that include the in-kind as well, or is this in-kind?
No, this would be in
and-
cash.
Okay, this would, okay, that's what I need to understand. Ms. Cardenas, did you have a question? Okay. All right, we do have a motion and a second. We'll call for the vote.
Aye.
That motion does carry. And Mr. Littman was yes, is that?
That's correct.
That was yes.
Thank you. All right, so we have the budget approved, everything moving on. We'll turn again to public comment, agenda item 3. Didn't include this? Okay, well then we're not going to worry about any further public comment because it's not on this, or do we? I don't see it here, it should have been. That is standard, but. Is it? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Toon.
as I understood the motion, Councilmember Rapson voted to amend the budget. So at this time it'd be appropriate for the council to consider adoption of the amended budget.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you, I want to make sure. Okay, so, do we have a motion from council to accept the amended budget and capital improvement plan for 2012? Councilman Hafen?
I move that we approve the amended budget and the capital improvements plan for 2012.
Thank you, we seek a second? Councilman Gustavus seconds. Does Mr. Littman understand the motion?
I believe I heard all of that one, yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries as well. And I'm not seeing a third for public comment on this particular agenda item, is that right? Am I missing something?
Mr. Mayor, I believe I do see a public comment section, agenda item number 3.
Okay,
It's in the backup, perhaps.
okay, I'm not seeing it here, but we'll go ahead and open up for public comment again.
Phil Britton, Greater Mesquite Arts Festival. Thank you for your support and understanding. I'm sure we can all work together to come up with some good numbers that will help all of us. Question I have is time frame. When can we expect a decision, the council meeting with the staff coming up with recommendations and council members?
I'll defer that to Mr. Barton. If you want to bring that question to him, that would be fine.
Phil, I think I think we can probably get this done by the end of June, so in about 4 weeks' time.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Pat Hardy from Mesquite. I'm with the Mesquite Toes, and I just need we need a clarification on the amendment. When we send in our grant, we ask for in kind. We did not ask for money. Is that going to be considered along with your?
In kind it will be considered, but it is separate from the 15,000 from
Thank
what I
you.
understand.
Okay, thank you.
Kathleen Burkholz, City of Mesquite. As we were going through this, I just want to recognize it. We all don't like budgets, but they are important. Sometimes they happen to be the staff of life around here in a small community. And I have to tell you that I'm very appreciative to the work that's put into this small town's budget. Small doesn't always mean it's quick. It's not. And it's not any friendlier, easier. So I'm here to thank you for all your efforts. And not just for going forward, but for being there behind us too. I jotted down some notes. I don't have really a clue what they match up to, but somebody mentioned I'm affiliated with this group, or I have to negate, I need to disclose everything. Well, if everybody came forward, you're going to find everybody's involved. And that's the way we like to keep you, is totally involved in what our community does. Not just for arts and golf and recreation, but all of it. So take a part in all of it and be included in all of that. And we do hope that everybody does get involved in some form of activity, because that's why we're here. I wrote a really nasty message. And I'm sure that in my past I've probably had difficulty in allowing you to interpretate it, but here goes. I'm here to give you help. My help in keeping the community's interests as #1 for quality of life. E, for my enthusiasm in creating a community or for the community arts and cultural activities. L, my loyalty of accountability to you as council, to staff, and to my supporters. And last L is my limitless time to be here and advocate for arts and cultural programs presented by the Virgin Valley Artists Association, the Virgin Valley Theater Group, the Mesquite Toes Tap Team, the Mesquite Arts Council, and the Senior Mesquite Pageantry, and the Greater Mesquite Arts Foundation. Without these groups, that every piece of our quilt that we put together for our community that gets shown everywhere we go, it all starts to make sense. So I go back to say thank you for being there. And if you can identify the footsteps in the sands, I'll say they're my feet, but they could be your feet. I want everybody to know it's everybody, and we're all in it together. To get through these next few years, we have to rely on all of our community efforts. So again, thank you.
Barbara Ellistad, Mesquite Citizen Journal, and a private citizen. And I have to commend Dodie and Debbie and all the staff, and especially you guys up there for the budget process this year. Compared to last year, this year was a piece of cake. And through the whole process, I just had this unbelievable feeling of trust. And that was really, really nice. So I just want to thank you guys. I want to thank the staff and all of the staff. So it was just so pleasant this year compared to years previous. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and adjourn our meeting. Thank you.